So I'm going to try and do an experiment with two different types of resin. Today I'm going to be using Lisa Pavelka's Magic-Glos, which cures with UV light. I'm going to do just a few different things just because I have it out, so I might as well. But my main thing was trying to figure out if putting a coating of resin on top of my little Yupo paper cutouts would give more of a domed effect, so that when I wanted to use it in clay, instead of having a flat imprint, I'd get a little bit of a rounded imprint. That's why I'm trying this. So meanwhile, I'm just going to try a couple of other things. This is basically just, making an embellishment out of a printed piece of paper. And then this is a technique that I definitely know works with the regular resin. I'm going to give it a shot with the Magic-Glos, and that is stamping on, this is just a piece of mat board that I glued on a piece of the non-stick coating that I use for stamping and everything. And so I'm going to stamp this with a solvent-based ink. Normally I use StazOn. Today I'm trying Archival ink by Ranger, and then you put the resin on top, let it cure, and then you can peel the resin off, and that imprint comes with it. It only works with the solvent-based inks as far as I've been able to tell. The dye-based ink smears like crazy, and pigment ink doesn't dry, or doesn't cure on that non-stick coating, either here, the base of it, or the actual resin either. And so when you lift it off, even though the resin's cured, the pigment will just smear right off. So that is why we are using the Archival ink. So Lisa Pavelka's Magic-Glos just comes in a tube with, it's just a one part, it's not like a two-part thing. The one thing that is more difficult is trying to, especially when you're using this on teeny tiny little designs, you just kind of have to go pretty slowly, just a little bit at a time. And the nice thing about these resins is they are self-leveling. So if you're very careful, it will go to the edge and then kind of round up, but won't go over the edge. So as long as you're not moving it around a lot and it's on a flat surface, then it will cure rounded. So I'm going to go off, so you don't have to sit there and watch me cover all this stuff, but I'll come back when I'm ready to do the stamping part. So I will be back. So I'm back, and I just wanted to show you anything that is very narrow. So I would have two tips for you. First of all, I'd use some repositionable adhesive so that doesn't move around a lot. And then the second thing is I'd put the resin in a wider area and then use a toothpick to move it. So I'm back, and I've covered all my pieces with the resin. So now I've pre-inked my little teeny tiny stamp, and I'm going to very carefully press down on the non-stick coating, easy for me to do, and then lift it straight back up. And it will look lighter. You kind of see I kind of missed a little bit of a spot, but it's close enough. Obviously better off using a backing like the acrylic block for your stamp will work better. But that's good enough just so that you can see the idea. And it will look lighter, but once you put the gloss on it, it will go darker and you'll be able to see the image. Now, I would let that dry a little bit, just so that it's not going to smear. I'm going to not listen to my own advice and just go ahead to kind of speed this up a little bit. And you're going to try to just drop your Magic-Gloss on the top without touching that image. And again, the nice thing about these resins is they're pretty full-bodied, so you can kind of drag them along and they'll sort of hold their shape. So I think that's covering the whole image. So I usually wipe off my tip before I put my cover back on, and I'm gonna be lazy today, and just because it's a nice sunny day out, I'm gonna cure it out in the sun. If it's raining or not sunny where you are, then you can put it in one of those UV lamps. Even the ones that cure your nails should work, and then you can just cure it that way. But like I said, I'm just gonna put it out in the sun because that's the easiest thing for me to do today, and I will be back when it cures. Hi, I'm back, and so this has, the Magic-Gloss has been curing for about 10 minutes. And the other tip I would say is, and I forgot to do this, I usually just put a drop of whatever I'm using, whether it's the regular resin or the Magic-Gloss, somewhere on the platform where I'm curing it, and then I can test that with my finger rather than the actual projects. But these pretty much seem to have cured. So, you know, nice little embellishments that you can add to your card project. So that's just what that is. And then here's my examples, and I don't know if you can see, but it just has a little bit of a rounded edge. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. So that again, when I use it in clay, you know, it will have a less flat look to it, I guess. So I can try and show you with this as well, maybe with the dots so you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, so you can see the dimension a little bit better maybe on this one. And so I think that actually works. Love that idea. And then here's my stamped piece, and you can just lift it off, and I'm looking for something white so you can see the image through the Magic-Gloss. I would say I'm going to try and play around with some different ideas on how to get an actual shape. Let me see if I can find my scissors. With the regular resin, depending on when you pick it off, you can sometimes cut it if it hasn't cured all the way. So let me just see. Sorry, I was trying to find a pair of scissors. So with the Magic-Gloss, yeah, it's kind of the same thing, where if you want, you could cut it before it completely cures all the way. So if you wanted a little bit different shape. So I just cut that edge off. But I'm going to play around with some ideas of how to shape it as you're curing it. I used to have these things, I don't even know if they sell them anymore, but they were called silly bands. It's about probably 10 to 12 years ago when my kids were little. They were really into these things, and they came in all kinds of shapes, and they were really great because the resin didn't stick to them. So same type of thing, you could put it on a non-stick surface, fill it with resin, and then once it cured, just peel the silly band off and you would get the shape. I mean, they came in animal shapes and geometric shapes and crowns and all kinds of things. If I can find them somewhere in my craft room by the end of this video, I will show you what I mean. And I'll try and look it up as well. I'm letting something else cure, another idea, and I will be back when that is finished. So I'm back, and here's was my other idea. This was just, you know, a stamped image on a piece of Yupo paper. I was curious whether, the Yupo paper would pull off. Now here's the thing that I did notice with the Magic-Glos is, especially when it's thick, it doesn't seem to, and maybe I just didn't leave it out. This has only been out for like 10 minutes. So I'm going to leave it alone and put it back out in the sunlight to cure. But the stays on does seem like it is smearing a little bit. And again, I don't know whether it's the stays on or the fact that the resin didn't cure all the way through, but hey, pretty cool. That was, okay, yeah, there's the smeary mess. That was stays on Yupo paper, and after it cured, I just peeled it off. Hopefully I didn't make a smeary mess of that. This is the same idea, but putting the Yupo paper inside the cutout, and again, kind of thinking that this will peel off and not stick. Ooh, yeah, all right. And then you'll get that shape. So, seems like it's sticking a little bit. Oh, and I missed a spot. So I'm gonna put this outside and let it cure upside down for a couple of minutes. And when that happens, I will be back. So I'm back, and I did put my pieces back out for another 10 minutes. Still, I'm not sure whether it dries. Now, the whole way the Magic-Glos works is it has to get UV light all the way through, so I don't know whether even just the ink is preventing it from curing all the way. So here's, I'm just using this as so you can see the image. Here's the pieces that I just did. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to try and wipe it and see if the ink comes off, and then we'll know whether it actually cured or not. Might have gone a little bit lighter, but still not bad. So if you're going to try this technique, my suggestion would be you handle it on the back as little as possible, so that you can preserve that image. And then here's the other piece where I poured it in the middle of the cutout. It did stick to this paper. I could peel it off, but see that little piece that's left? I still have to cut it. So my thinking is you're probably better off just using the cutout itself rather than the, you know, the hole. Especially if, you know, you're going to use Yupo paper. So anyway, that is one way that you can get a print. And, you know, a shape all at the same time. The other way, if you really want it super dark, if you really want it super dark, of course, you could just do the Magic-Glos over a printed piece of paper. If it's a stamped image, you could do it on, you know, a regular piece of paper. If you use something very thin, like a super thin rice paper, I'm not sure whether the deli paper will work. I can't remember if I've tried that. I know like parchment paper or vellum doesn't work very as well, but like the super thin rice papers or tracing paper, the resin will make that paper go very translucent, almost to the point of transparent, and then you just get the image of the stamp on top. And then you can layer it over whatever color you like. So anyway, you want to play around with it, you know, you have some Magic-Glos kicking around, you want to give it a shot, I would say go for it. But again, like I said, I would handle the back of it very carefully. So I'm probably going to repeat this whole experiment using regular ice resin. I know I've done this before and the StazOn cures better on the ice resin, but wanted to show you that. So once I get all my supplies ready for that experiment, I will be back. Hi, I'm back, and I want to show you the difference between just using a flat cutout without the resin on top. So that's the result of just the Yupo paper cutout rolled into the polymer clay. You know, and it looks nice. It's got a good imprint, but you can see it's just kind of flat. Versus this one that I did with the resin on top. And again, I know it's really hard to see that it's got that little bit of rounding, but I'm hoping you can see it a little bit more here in the clay. So you can see instead of just kind of the flat imprint, it's got a little more rounding to it. So I think that'll look nice. I'm also going to work on a video where I use it in silicone, 2-part silicone molding putty, so that then I can have a mold of it as well. So once again, thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.